Brian, and you've landed right here in the cosmic realm. Oh, you want to hear more? Killer garage rock. Battle of the bands from the Northwest. All right, everybody, welcome, man. This is gonna be freaking awesome. You guys are gonna love this. This is gonna be what I like to call a punk extravaganza. I don't know if that's the proper thing to say. If something's punk, it's not really an extravaganza. There's nothing extravagant about punk rock at all, but I'm gonna show you some cool punk rock albums that I've scored since being down here in the Big Lou. So I'm not gonna waste any time. I'm gonna jump right in. First of all, though, I would like to say thank you to all the new subscribers, man. I'm so stoked. Thank you to all you guys that are always in the comment section, man, and the camaraderie and the encouragement. Man, that's what I live for in this vinyl community, man. Sure, it's the vinyl, man. It's the vinyl's awesome, but man, it's also the fellowship, the friends, the buds, So I appreciate all you guys, man. And you guys that may have just been tuning in for the first time, man, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that dislike button. But just join in the cosmicness, the enlightenment of what you're witnessing here in the flesh. Anyway, forget all that. Just do whatever you want. Anyway, let's get into, these are some albums that actually were recommended by some of you, and then some of the albums I just kind of bought as blind buys. There's a little bit of everything here, and then there's a special treat right at the end. So I'm gonna go right into it, but first a freshie. Yeah. This is gonna be a big chug to forge the vinyl community, forging forward as one entity, as one powerful body. Live on, vinyl community. We're going into the future. We're taking rock and roll with us. So this big chug's to all you guys out there that are on board for that kind of action.
Oh, yes, my good friend, of course.
Oh! That made my teeth hurt, it was so cold. All right, let's get into it. All right, a while back, our boy Ryan Kidd, the human B-side, the stormtrooper of punk rock, showed this record right here, this Fried EM record. Now this, and when he showed it, he said it was from St. Louis punk rock, and I was like, shit, man, I have got to find that. I mean, it's got to be down here somewhere in one of the stores, and I searched like 3 or 4 stores before I finally hit up Vintage Vinyl, because they've got a killer local music section. And sure enough, there was like 2 or 3 copies of the Fried EM. Now this was released in 2020 on Lumpy Records, and the Lumpy of Lumpy Records actually plays drums for Fried EM. It's called Modern World. And as you can see, the cover art is very simple, nothing flashy, but that's what I love about this, because this thing is raw. This is medium tempo, hardcore, killer punk rock. Comparable to, say, like a Flipper, but far more raw and reckless this is. And I'm going to show you some cool inserts that came with it. There's this guy here. He's got like a germs thing going. It must be a little germs worship. And it used to say Darby Lives, but now it's crossed out. It says Bugman. Now I actually tried to look up some stuff what Bugman meant, because I seen it on some of the other stuff that they put out, and I thought, well, I wonder what Bugman is, like a mascot or some shit or what. I gotta put this up. But I couldn't find anything about it. But these guys, these guys must just hate the world, because the lyrics of this are so anti-establishment and so self-loathing. Check out this lyric sheet. It's like it's barely legible, and as you can see, there's not much to each song. Each song is about less than 2 minutes long. It doesn't even approach 2 minutes on each song. But it's sloppy, lo-fi delivery, but it's just got enough melody to it to, you know, maybe even the casual punk rock listener could get into it. I'd like to do a needle drop on this, but since Ryan Kidd already did, I'll let you refer to his video. But yeah, I actually read a review. You know, it's one of those like rate your music, and somebody wrote, "This is better than the Beatles." I just thought that was hilarious, because there's a lot of people out there that don't revere the Beatles like most people do, and you know, those are the people that are outcasts and people who don't just commingle in society, and that's what's so great about punk rock. You know, people can, even the most socially inept or socially awkward person can latch onto it, and that's why I've always liked it. So, blazing fast, snotty vocals, heavy duty, man. It's just a great punk record. Let's see what's next here. And this is kind of the other end of the spectrum here. I kind of bought this on a blind buy. This is the Smugglers Selling the Sizzle. Now this is more your like power punk, like pop punk kind of stuff. This is a Canadian punk rock band. This was released in '96 on Lookout Records, and this is more polished record than, say, the hardcore of Fried EM. In fact, these guys in Fried EM would probably shit on this album and then wipe their butt with it, because this is, like I said, more that '90s style punk pop, I guess, for more lack of a better way to describe it. But this is, you know how Hyper Viper 1, our old pal Hyper Viper 1, likes to listen to some of the newer punk rock stuff from '90s and 2000s. This would probably be right up his alley if he doesn't already have it. And I want to show you this. There's an insert here too. It's actually the inner sleeve. It has this like liner notes sheet with a collage of like flyers and pictures of the band, and I always find that stuff kind of fun to look at. It's got bands that they appreciate, which include the Devil Dogs and Man or Astro Man, so they definitely have some decent influences, but that's pretty cool. And then I especially like this Lookout LPs that you can find in Lookout 7 inches. There's some cool bands on here. You got the Queers, Mr. T Experience, early Green Day. There's some pretty good stuff on here. And then on the 7 inches, there's this guy holding his member right here on this cover of this 7 inch, and it's called 9 Inch Males. I just thought that was hilarious. Holding his giant shaft. Anyway, this gonna shift gears even to another spectrum of punk rock, and that's this the Jam sound effects. Now everybody knows who the Jam is. They were in like an English mod revival punk rock band from the 70s and early 80s. This was released in 1980. This was their fifth studio album release on Polydor Records. they wore like really smartly dressed, tailored suits, reminiscent of the 60s, like mainstream rock bands and R&B groups, which I think is kind of cool. You know, the blazers and the ties and stuff. Definitely drew on their image and their music from like the Who and their mod era and the Kinks. And of course, Paul Weller was the front man of this band, and he, you know, of course, went on to form the Style Council later on, and had a very successful solo career as well. But yeah, he considers this the best of all the Jam studio releases. So, you know, he thinks pretty highly of it. So, but this band's lyrics are a lot about the English working class life. You know, this is like a lot of this is maybe power pop, Brit pop kind of vibe to it. Not your typical punk rock, but there are some rollicking numbers on this, like Set the House Ablaze, and Pretty Green is also a great song. The songwriting on this is brilliant. This is just a really solid album. Definitely not, if you're into like hardcore punk and not anything else, that's probably not for you. But now this is a really, really special album that I've been waiting to show for a while. I was scrolling through Instagram. I love to go on Instagram and look at all the people who post the records that they've gotten. It's just so cool. It's almost equally as cool as watching videos, because all you got to do is just look at the album, maybe comment on it a little bit, and this is something that I found, not that somebody had shown, but this was in you know, in the advertisements that they have in between the stuff, the posts, and it was for Jackpot Records, which you can see the sticker there, the hype sticker, and they had this on clearance. This is the Scabs Idle Threat. This originally was stuff that was recorded in like 77 and 78, but this is the 2012 Jackpot reissue. Now this album took 35 years to get properly released to the street, the common street person, and it is fantastic. It's a bunch of guys kids from Lawndale, California, that were bored and listless and music-obsessed nerds that decided to try their hand at doing something different because they were so sick of the plasticness of modern music at that time. And so they kind of, you know, put together a band. It's kind of Devo-esque rhythms with kind of a lightning fast technical touches to it. You know, the Scabs, the band name, they came up with that. They were looking through a Cream magazine and seen an unfavorable review of one of Black Sabbath's album. Maybe it was Paranoid, I can't remember. But the guy that wrote the review called them Black Scabbath. And they thought that would be a cool name for a band, but they just shortened it down to the Scabs, which I thought was kind of cool. The Scabs formula and concept was as simple as this. It was some dumb guys who can't play their instruments very well and didn't care whether people liked what they were playing or not. So to me, that's pretty punk rock. Now, they didn't consider themselves punk rock in the typical sense of the word. In fact, hardcore punkers in California really didn't care for the Scabs. And then they played like these hippie dive bars, and the hippies didn't like them either. So they were kind of an island unto themselves. So, but yeah, they were just kind of in their own scene. But this is so good. You know what? I'm gonna do a little needle drop here. Because Idle Threat is a fantastic song, and I want you guys to get to experience this a little bit. I think you'll dig it. I mean, for $8, I was totally like, totally stoked to get this record. This is my first needle drop, and it's not going well. See what I mean? Pretty cool, huh? And then it came with this inner sleeve that kind of has the history of the Scabs and some pictures of the band here. There's some pictures right here. This guy, look at all these guys right here with their mind shields on. I just love that. They all got their like wild punk mind shields. This guy right here, his name was Steve Salazar. He was the main songwriter in the band, and he was born with an inoperable heart condition. His parents were told that he wouldn't live till past 3 years old. Of course, he was in his late teens and 20s when he did the music for the Scabs, and he lived to be in the Scabs. And unfortunately, the two guys, him and another bandmate, were rooming together, and one of the bandmates heard Steve having like this wheezing issue, and they came in the room. He was in full-blown seizure, and he went into the hospital, and he swore that he would be out in time to do their gig, which was in a couple weeks. Unfortunately, Steve Salazar did pass away just shy of his 27th birthday, which is quite sad because these guys were just a very unique band. You know, somebody who would like the Scabs would be Michael Pilmer. I bet he'd dig the Scabs. One more look at the Idle Threat album here. Great kind of quirkiness to it too. Good stuff. I've dwelled too long. And now everybody knows this band, but I don't think everybody knows this record. I mean, of course I didn't, but this is Time's Up by the Buzzcocks. Now, this was originally a bootleg in 1978, and it was officially released in 1991. This is a 2012 release on Domino Records, a reissue. This is basically what this is the Buzzcocks demo album. And I think some of it has to do with Spiral Scratch, their first released demo album. And then the rest of it was just an afternoon in October of '78 that they recorded these songs basically live in the studio. I wish this wasn't so dark. You could see that picture of them on the front. This is when Howard Devoto was the lead vocalist of the Buzzcocks before Pete Shelley took over. And it's kind of cool to see or to hear Howard Devoto singing Orgasm Addict, which turned out to be a kind of a cult hit for the band later on. But the Buzzcocks, Pete Shelley and Howard Devoto heard about the Sex Pistols, this band. They took a train from Manchester. See, they weren't London punkers. They were from Manchester. They took the train to London to see a Sex Pistols show. And after seeing it, they were inspired. So they went and put their band together, wrote some songs. And not long after that, they were opening for the Sex Pistols in one of the two shows that the Pistols did in Manchester. I kind of hear Howard Devoto's vocals on this are very Johnny Rotten-esque, except maybe better. And I mean, this wasn't so like, you know, the power poppy that they become. This was aggressive and mean and snarly and lots of yelps, punk rock stuff on this record. It's fantastic. I highly, highly recommend this. There is a couple covers on this. They do cover I Can't Control Myself by the Trogs. And then they do a reworking of I Love You, You Big Dummy by Captain Beefheart. Now, Captain Beefheart, for some reason, a lot of those 70s Brit punk bands liked Captain Beefheart. I think it was probably because, you know, he was a bit unique compared to the other dinosaur rock that they despised. So, and now I got one more record to show, and that's this record called Max Load. This was also in the local section at Vintage Vinyl. This is friggin' great. This is another kind of punk new wave band from the late 70s and early 80s down here in St. Louis. It was a band started by a guy named Terry Jones. He was a young high school dropout, juvenile delinquent who did a lot of acid, and he was looking through a magazine at this shop he hung out in, and he seen it. There was a featured article on the Ramones, and there was another article about a garage punk band called the Marbles. And right then he knew that there was a burgeoning scene that was just right for guys like him, you know, outcasts, social outcasts, you know, awkward teens trying to find their way. And he knew right then that he also wanted to start a band. So he became aware that there was guys that were in bands playing this top 40 stuff, and he kind of infiltrated this band. He came in, he wrote Max Load, the name that he always envisioned his band to be, on this chalkboard, and then he showed him 2 tunes that he had written. And next thing you know, some of the guys went their own way, and a couple of guys joined him, and they formed Max Load, the band. And they started doing shows at like, you know, parties and small venues and you know, parks, wherever they'd play in somebody's driveway. And then they started to get seen by somebody who wanted to do some recording with them. So they did record a bunch of singles, which also landed on this. They also did a show on a public access, cable access channel, which is really cool because it came in the DVD form in this little thing with the record. It also came with a live CD too, so this is a great package. These guys are fantastic. I'll give you a better look at the band here. Just really cool, like new wave punk. Man, I'm really starting to get into like the history of like punk and pop and stuff down here, and Max Load is definitely part of that history. So, you know, those are the vinyl records I was going to show, but there was something else that I wanted to show you guys that came in the mail today that I was so stoked to get. I would very much like to have this on vinyl, and I know I will find it eventually. I will pay whatever I have to pay to get this on vinyl. But our own Ryan Kidd, if you didn't know, was in a band called the Disconnects. And I found their cassette tape on Discogs. Now, this friggin' price sticker, if anybody has any idea how to get this off, it's on there pretty good, but there, right behind the fucking sticker is Ryan Kidd, who was Ryan Switzer at the time. And this is his band, the Disconnects. This is so great. This is like New York punk, Johnny Thunders, New York Dolls, Dead Boys, a lot of stuff packed into what, half a dozen songs here. This is fantastic. I seen Vinyl Richie was lucky enough to get it on vinyl, but I ended up having to deal with this cassette, but I'm cool with it. It's got the cool plug in there, and for like the disconnects. I dig this. Came with a sticker from the place that issued it. It's Baldy Long Hair Records, has a sticker there and a little card from the place that it came from. This is I guess I got number 58 out of 150. I'm trying to get this out so I can open it up and show you it. It's pretty cool. Not good as, oh, there you go. Now you can get a good look at it. It's kind of dark though, but look at all that hair on Ryan Kidd. That's friggin' awesome. Anyway, Ryan, I want you to know, man, that this fucking kicks ass, man. This is so great. It actually sounds like, kind of like the vinyl. I mean, it sounds like it was like taped from the vinyl. But yeah, I really want to get this on wax. So if anybody out there knows anything about where I might be able to score it, let me know. Ryan, I commend you on this, man. This is so good. Anyway, that's my punk rock extravaganza. So it's actually part 1 because I have about another half a dozen records that I'd like to show too, but I knew this was going to be long as it is. So anyway, you guys, stay cool. Dig some punk, man. Check out Ryan Kidd's The Disconnects. There's some YouTube stuff. There's some, even if you Google The Disconnects, you can see a pretty good interview with Ryan Switzer, Ryan Kidd, talking about his record collection, which I thought was really cool. Yeah, I dug a little deep. Anyway, you guys, stay cool and stay cosmic, man. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it.
It's Cosmic Vinyl.